Hey everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Florian Hoefner, Juno-winning pianist and bandleader, composer, arranger, and assistant professor of jazz studies at Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland. Florian is here to show us how to use scale relationships to increase your harmonic vocabulary.
Hi, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to talk about this topic, which has been very helpful to me, both as a composer, but also as a performer. It's also a really helpful tool to analyze modern jazz compositions. In modern jazz, since the 1960s, in compositions by composers like Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, one trend that's happening is that 2-5-1 relationships are often concealed. So you'll find less straight 2-5-1s, and you'd rather find replacements and substitutes that express these relationships, but in a more abstract and subtle way. And that's a great tool to have, both as a composer to use this and also as a performer in order to be able to understand these more complex chord combinations that you can find in these compositions. So what I'm going to do in this brief lesson is I will introduce you to the concept of thinking about scale relationships in order to represent a certain functional movement from, let's say, from a 4-chord to a 1-chord, for example. So I will look at Plagal and dominant relationships, and I will introduce a few possible substitutions. Let's start with Plagal. We have a slide here. Yeah, Plagal generally is 4-1. The 4-chord can look differently. So I have chosen the subdominant minor sound here. So this would be a modal interchange chord because we're going back to the key of C major. So the F minor chord is taken from the minor tonality. Before we look at the scale relationship, we got to look at the characteristic voice leading. That's very important. The A flat to G, that's the essential voice leading that expresses the subdominant minor to tonic resolution. So that's important that is present in whatever chords we choose. We need to have the A flat going to the G. The scale relationship is F Dorian to C Ionian or Lydian. Now that's an inconsequential change. The raising the 4, it doesn't impact the voice leading much, so we can use both. And again, that will give us a few more options even. So what I'm doing now is, instead of just thinking, oh yeah, subdominant minor, that's F minor going to C, I'm thinking any chord that represents F Dorian, any scale chord or inversion that includes the A flat, can substitute for that F minor 7, which increases my options drastically. And then on the other end, any chord that represents C Ionian or Lydian can replace our C major 7. In these examples that you'll hear now, I've chosen some inversions. First, let's have a listen at the plain F minor 7 to C major 7. And now we'll have a listen to the two possible substitutions that I've chosen. There's many more. Those are just two examples. First, we'll have A flat major 7 over E flat, resolving to C major 7 over E. Yeah, and this one creates this nice ascending bass line, right? So we also are getting away from bass motions that are only happening in fifths and fourths. We can create some more interesting bass motions with this technique as well. Next one, B flat 7 sus 4 going to C major 7 over G. Yeah, let's move on and look at dominant relationships. There's different dominant colors as a starting place. I have selected the altered scale as our sound here. So we have G7 altered going to C major 7. The characteristic voice leading here, we have two voice leading tendencies. We have the B moving up to the C and the F going down to the E. In this case, we want to make sure that at least one of them is present. Ideally, the B going to the C, because if we just have the F going to the E, then our chord progression would sound more Plagal. For true dominant sound, we really need to have the B going to the C. The scale relationship here is A flat melodic minor to C Ionian. Why A flat all of a sudden? I thought we were talking about G7. You probably know that the altered scale is the 7th degree of melodic minor. So I find it easier, and you probably will too, to think about A flat melodic minor and its scale chords and scale degrees rather than having to think in G7 altered. That's just closer to what we're familiar with. We can think about a relative major inversions and scale chords within A flat melodic minor much more easily than doing that in G7. On the other end, C Ionian could be C Lydian again for some more options. I have a few substitutions here for you before we listen to those. Let's listen to the basic, just the altered dominant going to the tonic, G7 altered going to C major 7. Okay, here are my chosen examples for substitutions. First, we're going from A flat minor major 7 to C major 7 over G. Yeah, again, this one creates a nice chromatic descending bass motion. Next one, we have B flat 7, sus flat 9 going to A minor 7. And yes, B flat 7 sus flat 9 is a scale chord of A flat melodic minor. It has a major 13, so it's not the same as the Phrygian version of this chord, but nonetheless, it's the same chord tones, and that works really well. And last, we have B major 7 sharp 5 going to C major 7 over E. Yeah, I hope these examples that I've presented give you a bit of an idea what you can do with this technique, thinking about just scale relationships rather than, Plagal, that has to be this chord, or dominant has to be this chord. And I hope that this will be useful for your work as a composer. I'll send you off with an example from my own writing. We're going to listen to a piece that I wrote for my group Subtone. It's called Flat Rock, and it's on the album called Moose Blues. You'll hear an 8-bar vamp where I've used an A flat minor chord to get back to C minor 7. So that's related to what we just presented for the dominant part, A flat minor representing the same scale as G7 altered. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and tune in again. See you next time.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.